Coming up on DITV News, we show you how you can be less frustrated with your spring allergies.
And later, a famous site in Iowa City has more history than you may think. We'll tell you more coming up.
It's NFL Draft Week,
which means more Beyond the Swarm with wide receiver Matt Vandenberg and offensive lineman Boone Myers.
all that and more coming up in sports.
Looks like the sun has come to stay at last. Find out more in this week's weather.
All that and more coming up on this Tuesday morning edition of DITV News.
Don't go anywhere. DITV News starts right now. Good morning and thank you for tuning in. I'm Christopher Cervantes.
And I'm Alexis Tansey.
Former U.S. President George H.W. Bush has been hospitalized. He was admitted to a hospital in Houston after an infection spread to his blood. Spokesman Jim McGrath says Bush Sr. is responding well to treatments and is recovering, and this comes after former First Lady and Bush's late wife, Barbara Bush, was laid to rest this past weekend.
Governor Kim Reynolds signed an executive order creating a Children's Mental Health Board, which is the first of many steps to create a children's mental health system in Iowa. The new board will develop specific steps to build a well-coordinated children's mental health system. The board will later serve as a state board, providing oversight to the entire system.
An Iowa City man was charged with sexually abusing a child. Between 2016 and 2018, 30-year-old Scott Surr allegedly performed sex acts with a child under 12 years old at 2 different times. Surr was arrested on Saturday and was later released on bond. The child provided details regarding the incidents to the police that were later confirmed by Surr. Surr is facing 25 years in federal prison. We might not have the cold to deal with anymore, but we're heading straight into allergy season.
DITV News reporter Samantha Oswick has more in the newsroom.
Here in Iowa, we're finally getting some spring weather, but with that weather comes allergies. And unfortunately for us here, Iowa is one of the worst states for people who have allergies because of the crops, the fertile land, and all of the trees, and then that brings pollen. But as someone myself who has struggled with allergies their whole life, I've found some tips that help me, and I want to share them with you guys. So what really helps is make sure that you have the proper nutrition. So you want to make sure that you're not dehydrated, because being dehydrated will make those sinuses get inflamed and unable to fight off allergies that come in contact with you. And then another good tip is whenever you come in from outside, you want to make sure that you change your clothes and take a shower, because pollen can go ahead and stick to your skin and your clothes, which will cause more aggravation. And then another thing that helps is having an over-the-counter medication. So a daily nasal spray like Flonase. It's going to help build up your immune system to allergies, or something like Allegra D. That's going to help you be not decongested, but also help fight those allergies you come into contact. And then lastly, a really great tip is go and visit an allergist. If you get tested for what you're allergic to, you know how to fight off those certain symptoms and what you can protect yourself with, whether it's medication or just certain things you know you shouldn't come in contact with. So hopefully this allergy season isn't too bad. Back to you guys at the desk.
We apologize for those technical difficulties. Alexis is a phrase out of the frying pan into the fire. Here, Iowa City is out of the cool box and into the pollen.
That's right, Chris, and I know I'm definitely being affected by allergies right now. Let's hope Jahisha in our weather studio is not. Let's toss it over to Jahisha to find out what this rest of the week looks like.
Yes, it may be allergy season, but it can only mean that it is tanning weather. That's right, it looks like the sun has finally blessed us with its warm air as we embark on that beautiful 71 degrees to start off our day before cooling off to a 43 degrees as we head into the evening. Then looking at our extended forecast, it looks like it's shorts weather again as we start off Wednesday with a warm 61 degrees before wrapping up later with around the high 30s. Thursday, even though we do get hit with a little bit of rain, we can't ignore that high 60-degree temperature before dropping to a cooler 40 degrees. And Friday, better grab those Ray-Bans as we see that big, beautiful sun lift our day with that 60-degree weather before counteracting with those low 40s into the evening. Then as we beam into the weekend, we see that sun beam right back as we wake up on Saturday to that glorious sunshine as we hit the mid-60s before lowering to around the mid-40s. Then signing off the weekend, we see a full circle as we begin and end the weekend with that 70-degree weather before settling to a pretty lovely 50 degrees as we head out into the evening. So I would like to first and foremost welcome that spring weather as you have finally arrived. It's nearly that time to break out that towel and hit the beach, or the best thing that Iowa can provide. So until then, have a wonderful sunny week, and back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Jahisha. It's a famous site in Iowa City, but very few seem to realize what lies just off Governor Street. DITV News reporter Sydney Zatz has the story.
In the depths of Oakland Cemetery stands the legendary Black Angel. It's been mentioned in books and websites for many years, but many don't know the story behind it.
The Black Angel arrived in Iowa City in November 1912 after Bohemian artist Mario Korbel designed the $5,000 monument. And since then, many superstitions and myths surround the Black Angel.
There's several, there has to do with the college students. If you touch it or touch the foot, there's a curse. The myths about why it turned black, infidelity in the family, where the Black Angel's at. There was a preacher's son that was buried there.
A few years ago, Greg Reisner was working his daily job at the university's Hillcrest Dining Hall. After the popularity of TV shows such as Ghost Adventures, some coworkers came up with an idea to do some of their own paranormal investigating, leading to several trips to the Black Angel.
The last time we were out there, we'd hit in a few different spots and nothing really happened. And it was like freezing cold that time too, because it was early October, but I did end up catching an EVP by the Black Angel, which is kind of surprising because there's nothing usually happens around there.
EVP, electronic voice phenomenon. It's a sound found on an electronic recording device that's interpreted as a spirit voice. If you listen closely, you might be able to hear it for yourself.
There that if you detect electrical on it.
Listen again.
There that if you detect electrical on it. Everybody's always kind of skeptical about different things, is it for real or not?
The legacy of the Black Angel has inspired an upcoming independent paranormal feature film. Reporting from Iowa City, Sydney Zatz, DITV News.
Scary stuff, Chris, and I can tell you right now, I will definitely not be found anywhere near that area.
Oh, I'm shaking underneath this anchor desk right now, let me tell you that. Let's move on to something more lighthearted. Let's toss it over to Bo and Lucy in the sports studio.
Thanks, guys. It was great to be back inside of Kinnick Stadium this weekend for the spring game.
Yeah, Bo, it was so great to be back with Iowa football, but I did miss a lot of the former players that graduated.
That's right. Well, speaking of the most recent former Iowa Hawkeyes, this is a huge week for them as their lives could possibly all change as they wait to hear on whether or not they'll be drafted or picked up by an NFL team.
Our pre-NFL draft mini-series Beyond the Swarms continues today as Mary-Kate Harrion sat down with offensive lineman Boone Myers. Take a look.
Boone, thank you for sitting down with us, and congratulations with your time done at Iowa. Pro Day's over. We're going to kind of start from the beginning, though. You walked on at Iowa, so kind of talk about that whole recruiting process and then deciding to come to Iowa.
I grew up a Hawkeye. I grew up coming to all the games. Loved the Hawkeyes, and when Coach Morgan came to my school and offered me a preferred walk-on, and Coach Bryan came as well. I just decided to take it, decided to gamble on myself, and hopefully, live out my dreams.
You got put on scholarship prior to your 2014 season, so talk about that and finding out and then how you felt after it.
Oh, it was nerve-wracking at first because I didn't know what Coach Ferentz wanted to talk to me about. I got called into the office, and I'm like, oh, shoot, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
And then he sat me down and, told me I was on. He's going to put me on scholarship, and I remember calling my parents, and it was awesome.
And then, you play, and then you get injured, kind of a blow to your senior year. So talk about that and then the process of kind of rehabbing then to get back for this.
Yeah, it was a blow. It wasn't fun by any means.
No, yeah.
And it never is, but that's life. It's going to happen. And, I had to make a decision on how I was going to deal with it, and I just chose, it's life, and these guys still need me, so I came here every day, rehabbed, and tried to be a coach out on the field and kind of help the younger guys that were stepping up into roles.
So then that short period of time you had to really, at somewhat full strength, get ready for
Yeah,
pro day.
yeah.
How was the training process there? I mean, you trained with Coach Doyle, so.
Yeah, I mean it was fun being out here with all my guys.
Yeah.
You know, we went 4 or 5 years together, and it was kind of nice to have one last few months to kind of be together and work out with Coach Doyle and the training staff, and you know, have one last kind of hoorah together.
And then in all your time at Iowa, can you pinpoint one moment, one game, anything, the best moment at Iowa?
Probably be the Michigan game, 2016. Yeah, it was a fun night. You could just feel it in Kinnick. It was just electric, and everyone was playing really well. And we had a lot of young guys step up and, you know, just knock off number 1 or number 2, whatever they were ranked, by a field goal. That was a fun way to end it.
And then I know you're probably not thinking about this at all, and it's years down the road for you, but life after football, you know, have you thought about what's next or what you want to do?
I honestly have not really thought about it. If everything worked out, I'd probably just own a house out in the middle of the woods and
There you go.
just be on my own.
All right, well, thank you for sitting down with us, and good luck with everything in the future in this next month.
Thank you.
I also got to sit down with former Iowa wide receiver and record holder for most games played as a Hawkeye, Matt Vandenberg, to talk about his time in the black and gold and to see what's next for him. Here is episode 5 of Beyond the Swarm. This is Lucy Rodine sitting down here with former Iowa wide receiver Matt Vandenberg. Matt, thank you so much for joining me today.
I'm happy to be here.
So let's just start off with the beginning. You kind of have a typical Iowa football kid story. You weren't super highly recruited out of high school, but ended up coming here to Iowa. What was your recruitment process like, and what made you choose Iowa?
It was pretty much non-existent. You know, I went to a lot of camps and things like that, trying to get my name out there. But you know, kids from South Dakota don't get a whole lot of exposure, but these guys do a really good job in recruiting that, you know, with Riley Reef, Brady Reef's on the team right now, Wes Dvorak, and obviously Chad Greenway. Hard to miss him out, but you know, the really family-type atmosphere is what drew me here, and I mean, they were also the only team that gave me a shot.
So going ahead to 2016, you came in with a lot of expectations, and unfortunately your season ended early. What was it like to sit there and kind of have to watch your team play, sit on the sideline, miss out on that year?
I mean, it was brutal. You know, anytime you're a competitor and you don't get to compete, I mean, it's hard. But you know, my role kind of shifted. I went to kind of like a coach. You know, I tried to help BK as much as I could, who's our receivers coach at the time. You know, what I was seeing, and I could also learn from them, you know, and instead of just worrying about my own game, I get to see how different guys play and kind of try and incorporate that when I was able to come back.
So 2017, you opened up against Wyoming. What was the feeling like to finally be back on the field after such a long time off?
Well, I got chills. I mean, I almost teared up coming out of the Swarm. I mean, it's a feeling that you can't recreate, and something that, you know, I missed for the majority of 2016. So, you know, it's not that I took it for granted before, but I definitely wasn't going to take it for granted after that.
How does it feel knowing that you're not going to put on that black and gold uniform ever again? Has it sunk in yet?
I mean, it's weird. You know, I see pictures from spring ball and things like that, and it's odd not being out there. But, you know, I'm excited for what this next chapter has.
So speaking of the next chapter, I mean, a big part of that is Pro Day. How do you think Pro Day went for you?
I think it went well. You know, I mean, I think that there are things that I probably could have done a little better in, but, I mean, I always feel that way. You know, I never feel like I've maxed out, so, you know, I always can work to get better in that way. But, you know, I'm just excited for what this next month holds.
So if there are some NFL teams out here watching DITV right now, what would you tell them? What would you say to take a chance on with you?
You know, I was only given one opportunity, and I had made the most of it, and I'm just looking for one more opportunity.
I want to thank you again so much for joining us, and myself and the Daily Iowan wish you the best of luck as you continue in your journey.
That's all we have for you in the sports studio today.
Guys, back to you at the desk.
That's a wrap on this Tuesday morning edition of DITV News.
Be sure to head over to dailyiowan.com for all your latest news between Monday and Friday.
If that isn't enough of the Daily Iowan for you, be sure to check out our print edition of the news on stands now.
For DITV News, I'm Alexis Tanzi.
And I'm Christopher Cervantes. Have a great day, Iowa City.